They left their wallet stuffed with cash, their keys in the ignition, and their starving dog locked in the truck. But Bobby, Sherilyn, and 6-year-old Madison Jamison, they simply walked into those Oklahoma woods and vanished from the face of the earth. Before they became a headline, before the theories and the whispers, they were just Bobby, Sherilyn, and little Madison Jamison. Real people with grocery lists, inside jokes, and dreams scribbled on sticky notes. Bobby wasn't just a construction worker, he was the guy who'd fix your fence on a Saturday without being asked. Sherilyn wasn't just a wife, she was the friend who'd show up with homemade pie when you were sick. And Madison, 6 years old, bright as a new penny, loved coloring outside the lines and her dog Maisie. This wasn't a family chasing danger, their biggest adventure, saving up for a patch of land in the Oklahoma hills. Sherilyn dreamed of a bigger house where Madison could run wild. Bobby wanted space to breathe after long days hauling lumber. It was simple, hopeful. That's why October 8th, 2009 felt so ordinary. They piled into their silver Ford pickup, Bobby in his worn baseball cap, Sherilyn with a coffee thermos, Madison chattering in the back, just a quick drive to Red Oak to finally look at that property, a routine trip, the kind you make 100 times in a life. They waved goodbye to their modest home in Eufaula, Oklahoma that morning. They had no idea it was forever. October 8th, 2009. Late morning, Bobby, Sherilyn, and Madison Jamison turned their silver Ford pickup onto a dirt road snaking through the woods near Red Oak, Oklahoma. It's quiet out here, too quiet. Cell phone bars, flickering ghosts on their screens, the road ahead. Nothing but dust and gravel hemmed in by dense, watchful trees. They're heading to meet a land seller about a plot Sherilyn had her heart set on, a dream spot. Remote, peaceful. Or so they thought. Hours pass. Back home in Eufaula, daylight fades. Bobby's mother, Connie, expects a call. They always checked in. Night falls, no call. Strange, she thinks, but not panic. Not yet. Maybe the meeting ran long. Maybe they stayed to watch the sunset over their future land. Maybe cell service out there really is that bad. She goes to bed uneasy but pushes the worry down. October 9th. Morning comes. Still nothing. Connie's calls go straight to voicemail. Texts hang undelivered. The first icy trickle of fear slides down her spine. She calls Bobby's work. No, he didn't show up. She calls Sherilyn's sister. No, they haven't heard a word. The dream trip is curdling into a nightmare. October 10th. Connie drives the route she thinks they took, scours the area near Red Oak. Nothing, just empty roads and silent woods. She files an official missing persons report. The police start looking. Routine checks. Did they use their credit cards? No activity. Did they access their bank account? Nothing. Did anyone see them? No confirmed sightings. It's like they drove into those Oklahoma hills and the earth swallowed them whole, vanished, like smoke in the wind. 4 agonizing days crawl by. October 12th. A local game warden patrolling a desolate stretch of dirt road deep in the Sans Bois Mountains, miles from where they were supposed to be looking at land, spots something glinting through the trees. A vehicle, abandoned. He approaches cautiously. It's a silver Ford pickup. Dust covered, doors unlocked. Inside, the silence screams. The keys still dangling in the ignition. Bobby's wallet lying right there on the driver's seat, open, and inside that wallet, $32,000 in cash. $32,000. Money they'd brought to potentially buy the land. Untouched. Sherilyn's purse on the passenger seat. Her ID, her cards, her makeup, all present. Nothing stolen, nothing disturbed. And then the back seat. A whimper, weak, desperate, huddled on the floor, trembling, ribs jutting out like knife blades beneath matted fur, is Maisie, the family's beloved white German shepherd. Emaciated, dehydrated, barely alive. She'd been locked inside that truck for 4 days in the October chill, starving, terrified, waiting for her family who never came back. Think about it. Seriously, think. If you were running away, wouldn't you take your keys, your wallet, your $32,000? If you were staging a disappearance, why leave behind the proof of who you are? And your dog, your beloved family dog, why lock her in the truck to die a slow, agonizing death? What kind of person does that? What kind of terror or compulsion makes you abandon your pet to starvation? The truck held other secrets. Bobby's cell phone was found inside. Dead battery. Sherilyn's phone, gone, vanished with her. Madison's little backpack was there, her toys inside, untouched. But the most chilling clue wasn't cash or keys or a dying dog. It was the camera. A digital camera found tucked away. Investigators scrolled through the photos, pictures of the woods, trees, the dirt road. The kind of snaps anyone might take scouting property. Then, the other pictures. Dozens of them, focused solely on Madison, their 6-year-old daughter, taken in the hours, maybe minutes, before they vanished. But these weren't happy snapshots, not smiles or silly faces. In these photos, Madison stands alone, often looking away from the camera, staring blankly into the distance, into the trees, her expression empty, hollow, haunted. Her eyes seem glazed over, detached, like a doll, like she wasn't really there anymore. Like something had drained the bright, lively little girl right out of her. Where were Bobby and Sherilyn when these photos were taken? Were they taking them? Why? What did they see in their daughter's face that made them keep pressing the shutter? Was it worry, fear, or something else? The scene screamed contradiction. Valuable cash left behind. Essential keys abandoned. A beloved pet sentenced to death by confinement, and a little girl captured on camera looking like she'd already seen a ghost moments before walking into the woods with her parents and disappearing without a trace. No struggle in the truck. No blood, no signs of forced entry, no tire tracks veering wildly off the road, suggesting a crash or a chase. Just stopped, parked, doors opened, walked away, leaving everything important behind, except Madison. They took her. The question hammered in everyone's mind, a relentless drumbeat against the silence. Why? Why leave the money? Why leave the keys? Why lock the dog in the truck? Why take those haunting photos? Why walk away from your vehicle, your lifeline, deep into unforgiving wilderness? Was it choice? Did something compel them to leave the safety of that truck? Panic? Delusion? A shared sudden madness? Was it force? Did someone or something make them get out? Threaten them? Coerce them? Take them at gunpoint? But then, why leave the valuables? Why not take the cash? The only thing that truck gave up was evidence of a profound, unsettling wrongness. A family stepping out into the October air and walking towards nothing, leaving behind a starving dog, a fortune in cash, and the ghostly, hollow-eyed image of their little girl, the last, silent witness to whatever came next. The woods closed around the spot where they vanished. The trees kept their secrets, and the Jamisons were gone. The abandoned truck wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of the nightmare. Inside that dusty Ford pickup, investigators didn't just find abandoned belongings. They found a trail of whispers, fragments of a family's last moments that didn't add up, pieces of a puzzle that only made the shadows grow longer. First, Sherilyn's purse, right there on the passenger seat. Open, but not rifled through, not stolen. Inside, her driver's license, her credit cards, lipstick, a hairbrush, loose change, the ordinary things a woman carries, things she'd need, things you'd grab if you were leaving, but she left them behind, like they meant nothing. Then, Bobby's phone, found tucked beside the driver's seat, battery dead as stone, no last frantic calls, no desperate texts, just silence. His lifeline to the world, discarded. Why not take it? Why not try to call for help? Unless help wasn't possible. Or unless he didn't think he needed it. And the cash. We have to talk about the cash again. $32,000. Stacked neatly in Bobby's wallet. More money than most people see in months. Left sitting on the seat like yesterday's newspaper. It screams one thing louder than anything else. This wasn't a robbery. Nobody robs a family and leaves behind $32,000. Nobody. This was something else. Something wrong. Then they found the camera. A simple digital camera, probably bought at a discount store. The kind families use for vacations, birthdays, scouting land. Investigators charged its dead battery. They scrolled through the photos. At first, normal. Trees. Lots of trees. The dirt road snaking away. A few blurry shots of the sky. The kind of pictures you take when you're looking at property, getting a feel for the place. Bobby might have taken these. Sherilyn, nothing unusual. Then, the pictures changed. Dozens of them. All focused on Madison, their 6-year-old daughter. Taken out there, in those woods near that truck. Likely just hours, maybe minutes, before they vanished. But these photos, they weren't right. In picture after picture, Madison stands alone, often not even looking at the camera. She's staring off, into the trees, into the distance, into nothing. Her eyes, that's what hits you. They're blank, empty, like windows into a dark, empty room. There's no spark, no life, no trace of the bright little girl who loved coloring and her dog Maisie. She looks hollow, like a doll someone forgot to put the soul into. Her face is slack, expressionless, not sad, not scared, just gone, detached. In some photos, she looks almost like she's sleepwalking, staring at something only she can see, something in the woods, something behind the person holding the camera. Who took these pictures? Was it Bobby, Sherilyn? Why? Why keep taking picture after picture of your little girl looking like that? Were they worried about her? Was something happening to her right then? Was she sick, in shock, or was something else making her stare like that? Something out there? The pictures feel invasive, wrong, like peering into a private moment of terror or confusion frozen in time. Madison doesn't look like a child on an adventure. She looks like a ghost waiting to happen, like she'd already seen the ending of her own story. And then the whispers started, because people close to the Jamisons began talking, tentatively at first, then with chilling certainty. In the weeks before they vanished, Bobby and Sherilyn had changed. They weren't their usual selves. They were jumpy, nervous. Bobby kept checking locks. Sherilyn would stare out windows for too long. They'd flinch at sudden noises. They told friends. They felt watched, not just watched, hunted, like eyes were always on them, especially out near the land they wanted to buy. They felt it in the woods, near their own home, a constant crawling feeling on the back of their necks, a sense of being followed, studied, not by a person. Some said they implied, but by something else, something that moved in the shadows, just beyond the tree line. Paranoia took root, deep, gnawing paranoia. Sherilyn reportedly told someone, her voice tight with fear, "It feels like something is after us." Bobby became convinced someone was trying to break into their house. They talked about it quietly, seriously. This wasn't a joke. This was bone-deep dread. Were they losing touch? Was it stress? The pressure of buying land? Family worries? Or was there something real out there? Something that stalked them? Something that followed them to that lonely dirt road on October 8th? Look at the clues together. The untouched cash, screaming this wasn't about money. The abandoned phones, screaming no calls for help. The haunting photos of Madison, screaming something is very wrong with this child. The locked, starving dog, screaming we left in a terrible, unnatural hurry. And now, their own terrified words, something is after us. It paints a terrifying picture, not of a random crime, not of a simple accident, but of a family unraveling, or a family being targeted. Were they running to that property that day, or were they running from something? Did whatever stalked them in their thoughts finally catch up to them, out there in the Sans Bois Mountains? Did it step out of the trees? Did it whisper something that made them lock their dog in the truck, abandon everything they owned, and walk Madison, blank-eyed and unresisting, deep into the wilderness? The truck wasn't a crime scene. There was no blood, no sign of violence, just absence, and clues that pointed not to an act, but to a state of mind, a state of sheer consuming terror. The kind of terror that makes you leave $32,000 behind. The kind that makes you take frantic, unsettling photos of your child. The kind that makes you lock your beloved dog in a metal tomb to die slowly. These clues didn't solve the mystery, they deepened it. They took a baffling disappearance and plunged it into absolute darkness. They whispered of fear, of obsession, of something unseen and deeply wrong pressing in on a normal family until they simply walked away from their lives, leaving behind only questions, a starving dog, and the ghostly, hollow-eyed stare of a little girl who looked like she already knew the terrible secret the woods would keep for 4 more years. Breath lip-smacking. When a family vanishes, leaving behind cash, keys, a starving dog, and photos of their child looking like she'd seen a ghost, people don't just shrug, theories explode. Wild ones, plausible ones, theories that crawl under your skin and stay there. The Jamison case became a magnet for every possible explanation, forcing us to walk a razor's edge between cold, hard logic and whispers that sound like they belong in a nightmare. Let's untangle them. First, the rational world bites back. Investigators started where they always start: motive, crime, human darkness. One rumor clung stubbornly to Bobby Jamison: drugs. Whispers surfaced about a troubled past, maybe some low-level dealing years before. Could this have been a drug deal gone catastrophically wrong out on that lonely road? Did someone lure them there? Maybe robbers did show up, saw the cash, grabbed the family, and forced them into the woods. But then why leave the $32,000 sitting right there? It makes no sense. Robbers take the money, always. Unless the robbery wasn't the point. Unless the point was them. Then the land itself. Sherilyn's dream plot. Was it really just a peaceful patch of Oklahoma dirt, or was it contested, disputed? Investigators dug hard. They found the seller, cleared him. They looked at neighbors, rival bidders, someone with a grudge over property lines, a dispute that turned deadly. It's possible. Land makes people crazy, but again, the clues fought back. Why abandon the means to buy the land, the cash? Why take Madison? Why leave the dog? A property killer would likely leave bodies near the truck, not march a family miles into the woods. The ground kept shifting under the logical explanations. Murder, suicide, the darkest thought. Did Bobby, consumed by paranoia or debt or some hidden despair, kill Sherilyn and Madison, then himself? It happens. It's terrible, but it happens. Except, where were the bodies for 4 years? Why no weapon found near the skeletons? The medical examiner found no clear signs of gunshots, stabbing, or blunt force trauma on those fragile bones. And Madison's haunting photos, taken before they vanished. She already looked broken. Was that the face of a child about to be killed by her own father, or the face of a child seeing something else entirely? The pieces wouldn't fit. And then the woods started whispering back, because Red Oak, Oklahoma isn't just trees and dirt roads. Talk to locals, the ones who've lived in the shadow of the Sans Bois Mountains for generations. They'll tell you, that land, it's got a reputation, an old reputation. Whispers pass down like heirlooms of dread. They call parts of it cursed, bad medicine, land soaked in sorrow or violence from long ago. They talk about strange lights deep in the trees, sounds that aren't animal, a feeling of being unwelcome, watched, hunted. The exact feeling Bobby and Sherilyn described before they vanished. Then the word surfaces, skinwalkers. It comes from Navajo legends far to the west, but the name travels. It sticks. Skinwalkers, shapeshifters, malevolent witches or spirits who can wear the skin of animals, coyotes, wolves, bears, owls. They stalk the lonely places. They bring sickness, bad luck, death. They watch. They mimic voices to lure people into the dark. They spread terror like a disease. Was something like that haunting the Sans Bois Mountains? Was it what made the Jamisons feel those crawling eyes? Was it what Madison saw staring back from the trees, freezing her into that hollow-eyed trance caught on camera? Did it finally step out onto that dirt road and make them follow it into the wilderness? Cults, the other dark whisper. Rumors swirled for years about hidden groups operating in those remote hills, satanic rituals, strange gatherings deep in the woods. Did the Jamisons stumble onto something they shouldn't have seen? Were they targeted because of it? Investigators chased the rumors. They found shadows, fear, tall tales, but no solid proof, just more uneasy questions. And then there's the Jamisons themselves. Their own actions added fuel to the supernatural fire, because it wasn't just local legends. Bobby and Sherilyn, friends confirmed, had dabbled. The occult, the paranormal. Sherilyn especially seemed drawn to it. Books on witchcraft found in their home. Talk of Ouija boards. Attempts, some said, at spell work or contacting spirits. Was it just curiosity, a harmless hobby, or did they poke at something they didn't understand? Did they open a door and let something in? Something that followed them home, something that watched from the corners of their rooms, something that finally demanded payment out there on that cursed land. Coincidence? A stressed family interested in spooky stuff moves near notoriously creepy woods, feels watched, and vanishes under bizarre circumstances? Maybe. But the sheer weight of the weirdness, the cash, the dog, Madison's photos, the specific paranoia matching local legends, makes coincidence feel like a flimsy shield against the darkness. Even the cops felt it. Seasoned detectives, hard-nosed men and women who've seen every kind of human ugliness, admitted this case felt different, off, unnatural. The clues didn't line up like a normal crime. The scene radiated a wrongness that went beyond blood and motive. One investigator was famously quoted, his voice thick with frustration and something deeper. "It just doesn't feel like people did this." So where does that leave us? Stuck between worlds. On one side, the logical explanations, drugs, property disputes, murder, suicide. They strain and crack under the weight of the evidence left behind. They can't easily explain the untouched money, the abandoned dog, the pre-existing terror, or Madison's vacant 1,000-yard stare captured before the end. On the other side, the legends, the whispers of curses, of skinwalkers, of things that move through the Oklahoma hills wearing stolen skin. Fueled by the Jamisons' own fascination with the darkness and the undeniable, chilling fact that they felt hunted before they were taken. The truth might be the most terrifying thing of all, that logic and legend aren't always separate, that sometimes the rational world cracks, and something older, darker, and infinitely stranger bleeds through. That Bobby, Sherilyn, and Madison Jamison might have walked willingly into the embrace of the woods because what was behind them, real or imagined, human or otherwise, was infinitely more terrifying than the trees. The theories don't bring answers. They deepen the shadows. They make the mystery of that abandoned truck, that starving dog, and that little girl's empty eyes feel less like a crime and more like a haunting. 4 years. That's how long the woods kept their secret. 4 long, aching years of empty silence. 4 years of theories swirling like dead leaves in the wind. 4 years for Bobby's mother, Connie, to stare at the phone, hoping against hope for a call that would never come. 4 years for Measy, the dog they left behind to starve, to grow old in another home, carrying the ghost of that abandoned truck. 4 years for the mystery to sink its roots deep into the Oklahoma soil. Then, on October 16th, 2013, the woods finally gave something back. It wasn't peace, it wasn't answers, it was bones, hunters. Tracking game through the rugged, thickly forested slopes of the Sans Bois Mountains, miles from paved roads, miles deeper into the wilderness than the Jamisons' truck had been found. A place thick with underbrush, fallen trees, and the slow, patient decay of the forest floor. Something caught their eye. Not an animal, something pale and unnatural against the dark earth and rotting leaves. They moved closer, dread rising in their throats. Bones, human bones. Scattered, not laid out peacefully, not buried, just scattered, like something had disturbed them long after the end. Sun-bleached, weather-worn, small fragments mixed with the forest litter, and nearby, more, larger bones, a skull, and then another, smaller, much smaller. They knew, even before calling the police, standing there in the chilling October air, they knew they'd stumbled onto something terrible, something lost. Something the mountains had hidden for too long. Law enforcement descended, the quiet woods filled with the grim buzz of investigation, yellow tape fluttering like sickly flags, flashlights cutting through the gloom even in daylight, evidence markers placed beside fragments that had once been people. They gathered the remains carefully, fragile pieces of a shattered family, 3 sets, an adult male, an adult female, and a child, a small child. The location was a punch to the gut. Just 3 miles. 3 miles from where their abandoned truck had sat 4 years earlier. Keys in the ignition, cash on the seat, their dog dying in the back. 3 miles through dense, unforgiving woodland, thick with brush, ravines, and slopes, rough terrain. But not impossible. 3 miles, they hadn't been able to walk back. 3 miles, searchers, dogs, helicopters, and desperate family members had somehow missed for 4 long years. Why weren't they found sooner? Had the woods truly hidden them that well? Had animals carried the remains further, scattering them? Had winter snows covered them? Had searchers simply walked right past, their eyes missing the pale fragments among the leaves? Or was there something else about that spot, something that kept it hidden? Something that didn't want them found until it was far too late for anything but bones. Dental records, the cold scientific key. Bobby Jamison, Sherilyn Jamison, Madison Jamison, identified, confirmed. After 1,460 days of agonizing uncertainty, it was them. They were found. But found is not the same as understood. Found is not the same as closure. The Oklahoma State Medical Examiner went to work. The question screamed louder than ever. How did they die? They looked for signs. any signs. No telltale fractures or marks on the skulls or major bones. Knife wounds, stab marks, nothing obvious. No nicks or cuts on the surviving bone fragments that pointed to a blade, blunt force trauma, crushing injuries, broken skulls. Again, the bones showed no clear evidence of massive fatal impact. Strangulation, suffocation, these leave no mark on dry bones years later. Silence. Poison, toxins fade. Without soft tissue, the secret stays buried. The conclusion was a hollow echo. The cause of death, undetermined. A word heavy with nothing. A word that slams the door shut. No murder weapon, no clear violence. No obvious struggle marked on their skeletons. Just death. 3 lives ended out there, deep in the woods. Sometime shortly after they vanished in October. Did they simply get lost? Could exposure kill 3 people, 2 adults and a child, just 3 miles from their truck? October nights in Oklahoma can dip towards freezing, but could cold alone fell them so completely, so quickly, that they never tried to find their way back? Could thirst, starvation? That takes days. They had just started their trip. Were they that disoriented, that terrified, that lost? Or was it something else? Something that left no mark on bone? A sudden heart attack? A stroke? Seizures? All striking 3 people at once? Unlikely. A shared hidden illness? No evidence. Or something that doesn't leave physical wounds? Overwhelming terror? A force that stopped their hearts through sheer dread? The culmination of the paranoia that had stalked them? The final touch of whatever Jamison had seen staring back from the trees in those haunting photos? Did they simply lie down, huddled together, and let the darkness take them? The location offered no answers, just the grim fact of their resting place. Scattered, exposed, no shallow grave, no attempt to hide them, just left to the elements, like they were discarded, like they fell where they stood. For Connie, Bobby's mother, the discovery was a devastating relief. Finally, she could lay her son, her daughter-in-law, and her granddaughter to rest. Finally, she could bury their bones. But she couldn't bury the questions. Why? What truly happened in those woods? The undetermined verdict was a life sentence of wondering. The truth died with Bobby, Sherilyn, and Jamison on a cold October day, and it seeped into the Oklahoma dirt with their blood, long since washed away. It was carried off by scavengers. It was locked inside those fragile, silent skulls. All we have is the terrible geography of their end. A truck abandoned with its keys and its cash and its dying dog. A camera filled with images of a little girl who looked already gone. Whispered fears about being hunted. And then bones. Scattered 3 miles away in woods that kept their secret until all that remained was silence and dust. They were found, but the mystery was only buried deeper under 4 years of fallen leaves, under the weight of a single devastating word: undetermined. A word that means nothing and everything. A word that says the woods took them, hid them, and gave back only the faintest, most broken echo of the people who walked into its shadows, never to return. The bones were buried. The headlines faded. But the Jamison case, it never closed. It never settled. It hangs in the air over those Oklahoma woods like a stubborn, poisonous fog. To this day, we're left not with answers, but with ghosts. Ghosts of choices we can't understand. Ghosts of a little girl's hollow stare. Ghosts that whisper impossible questions in the dark. Let's start with the truck. Why that spot? Why stop their silver Ford pickup on that particular stretch of desolate dirt road, miles from the property they were supposed to be scouting? Was it planned? Did someone flag them down? Did something force them to pull over? Or did Bobby or Sherilyn suddenly say, "Stop, we need to get out here"? Now, what happened in that cab that made stepping out into the wilderness feel like the only option? Then, the abandonment. It defies every instinct, every scrap of human logic. $32,000 in cash, left sitting openly on the driver's seat. A fortune, life-changing money. Why leave it? Were they in such blinding terror that money meant nothing? Did they believe they'd be coming right back? Or was something compelling them that made material things irrelevant? The keys. Still in the ignition, the ultimate symbol of escape, of control, of getting the hell out of there, left behind. Did they forget them in their panic? Unlikely. Both adult, or was abandoning the truck part of the plan? The compulsion? The surrender? Maisie, oh God, Maisie, The white German shepherd, locked in the back seat, left to starve, to die slowly, terrified and alone in that metal box. This is the one that claws at your soul. You don't lock your beloved family dog in a truck to die unless something has shattered your mind or your heart. Was it cruelty, sudden, shocking callousness, or was it a desperate, misguided act? Did they think they were protecting her from something worse outside? Did something convince them Maisie couldn't come? Or did they simply not think of her at all in that final fractured moment? The thought is almost as horrifying as the act. The photos, Maisie's photos, those chilling, hollow-eyed snapshots taken just before they vanished. What were they for? A warning? A desperate attempt to document something happening to their daughter right before their eyes? Something stripping her soul away? A red herring? Something staged? But by whom? And why? Or were they evidence of a shared delusion? Bobby and Sherilyn, deep in paranoia, seeing something in Madison's face that wasn't truly there, obsessively trying to capture it? Or did Madison genuinely see something out there in the trees that broke her? Something only a child could perceive, and were her parents terrified, trying to understand it through the lens? The paranoia, they felt watched, hunted, not just nervous, haunted. Was it real? Was someone truly stalking them? A person? A group? If so, who? And why leave the money? Why take them so deep into the woods? Or was the enemy inside their own minds? Did stress, isolation, their dabbling in the occult, or an undiagnosed mental illness twist their perception until the world itself felt like a predator? Did the fear they felt create the horror that found them? The walk, 3 miles through dense, rough, unfamiliar woodland in October, not impossible terrain, but challenging. Especially with a 6-year-old, did they choose to walk that far? Were they lost, disoriented, circling, or were they led? Was something or someone guiding them, drawing them deep, promising safety, threatening them onward? The image is unbearable. Bobby, Sherilyn, and a shell-shocked Madison trudging further and further from their truck, from help, from light, into the heart of the dark. Why? What was the destination? Or was there never one? The end. 3 skeletons scattered, 3 miles away. No signs of violence on the bones. No bullets, no knives, no crushing blows. Undetermined. How does a family of 3 simply die together in the woods within days of vanishing? Exposure, thirst, starvation? Possible, but 3 miles isn't the Sahara. Could panic and disorientation kill that completely? Could shared terror literally stop 3 hearts? Or was it something else? Something that leaves no mark on bone? A poison? A gas? A force we can't measure? Or did they just give up, lie down in despair, huddled together and wait for the cold to take them? The silence from those bones is deafening. This isn't just another true crime story. It's not a neat puzzle with a satisfying click when the last piece fits. The Jamison case is a riddle wrapped in Oklahoma fog, a labyrinth with no exit. It mocks our need for logic. It laughs in the face of easy answers. Because the biggest question isn't what happened, it's how could this happen? How could a normal family, on a normal day, drive into the hills and step out into a nightmare that defies every rule of human behavior and forensic science? How could they vanish so completely, leaving behind clues that scream contradiction? How could they die together without a mark just 3 miles from salvation? It forces us to stare into the abyss of the unknown, to consider possibilities that scrape against the edges of our understanding. Was it human evil, cunning and bizarre? Was it the crushing weight of mental collapse? Or did something truly other walk out of those old whispered about woods that day? Something that doesn't play by our rules. Something that wanted them lost. The scariest part? The scariest part isn't the legends of skinwalkers or cursed land. It's the realization that sometimes the most terrifying monsters aren't the ones lurking in the shadows. They're the ones hiding in plain daylight. The perfect storm of circumstance, fear and the unknown that can snatch a family off the face of the earth within sight of their own the monster that leaves behind starving dogs, untouched cash and the hollow eyes of a child who saw it coming. The monster called mystery. We may never know what truly took the Jamisons. The woods hold the secret. The bones hold the secret. The darkness that swallowed them whole holds the secret. All we have are the ghosts of their last moments, the echo of their fear and the chilling, unshakable certainty that sometimes things vanish. Not because they're hidden well, but but because the universe itself seems to want them gone. We may never know what truly happened to the Jamison family, but their story, it's a haunting echo in the hills, a warning, a puzzle, and for Madison, a childhood stolen too soon. If you carry one thing from this, let it be this. Some disappearances aren't just about missing persons. They're about the darkness that swallows them whole. Pause, then softer. What do you think happened? Share your theories below and hold your loved ones close.